The irony of talking about ADHD while talking about trying to pick up hobbies is not lost on me. Learning to knit was one of the best things that I have done so far in my life for my mental health and for the management of my ADHD symptoms. And in this video, I am going to tell you just how much my mental health has improved since picking up knitting. Yes! From what I know about the theories behind ADHD is that the symptoms are generally categorized as either hyperactive or inattentive. For me, I have the brand of ADHD where my mind basically moves at warp speed for all waking hours of my day, and the static that persists in my brain usually just results in me being face down on the couch after trying to do literally anything and miserably failing at it. Which I have since come to learn after talking to my doctor and doing my own personal research that it is basically a hybrid of those two distinct categories that I mentioned. Lucky me. I currently manage my ADHD with a very low dose of stimulant medication that kind of just like quiets the noise in my brain and helps me get through the day a little bit more smoothly. It's not a be-all end-all to magically fix my brain, but being medicated essentially starts this positive feedback cycle, allowing me to successfully focus on a task and more efficiently complete said task, which in turn helps me feel like a more accomplished human being and allows me to cope with existing. After I started knitting, the first way that I realized that my life really improved was that it kept my hands occupied and prevented me from doom scrolling. I feel like as a collective society in the recent years, we've been uncovering a lot of the dark truths about the overconsumption of social media content. I know for myself, falling into a social media hole, I'll come out of it like an hour later feeling worse than I did when I went into it. And a lot of the times it just wasn't intentional for me to be in there as long as I was. I think because of the fact that knitting requires that I use both of my hands to accomplish the task, the needles in the yarn literally act as a roadblock so that I physically can't reach for my phone even if I wanted to. This has allowed me to engage in more passive media content like YouTube videos or TV shows or podcasts that I can consume just by listening while I knit that ultimately aren't entirely soul consuming and therefore less exhausting. And don't get me wrong, knitting can be mentally tiring because it does require long periods of concentration, and it also can be physically tiring because at the end of the day it is a fine motor skill. But the kind of fatigue that comes from knitting doesn't make me feel foggy or lethargic like I feel after a doom scroll. Based on my knowledge of the theorized biochemistry behind having ADHD, what I can infer from this is that knitting something offers me concise and expected dopamine hits based on my long-term investment of my time into the craft. I see some people in the ADHD community refer to their symptom management as chasing the dopamine, and this is a concept that I definitely relate to. Unlike scrolling social media where you can theoretically go on forever and ever in the algorithms, when I knit something, I know exactly when it's going to start and exactly when it's going to end. For example, when I knit a raglan sweater, it begins when I cast on the neckline and ends once I finish the sleeves and finish the body and cast the sweater off of my needles. Ultimately, the completion of a task or the finishing of a project is what facilitates release of dopamine in the brain because your body is rewarded for doing something that you put your time into. From the very moment that I start a sweater, I know exactly the moment that that sweater is going to be finished and exactly when I can expect to feel the sense of accomplishment that came from making the sweater. And let me tell you, that final hit after completing a project is really good, girl. Something that I've noticed over time trying to manage my ADHD symptoms, especially before I was medicated, was I really couldn't finish any tasks and I just felt kind of bleh all the time. So creating and finishing projects allows me to constantly feel that sense of accomplishment, just allows me to feel a little bit better about myself while also tickling the creative parts of my brain. Maybe I could have picked up another creative hobby that wasn't knitting and I could have experienced the same kind of mental health buff, if you will, because finally having a creative hobby that I can invest in really just feels so good, and I'm not even sure I can entirely explain why. I have always been a creative person, but I never really realized it or accepted it until I was in my mid-20s. I'm 30 now and I never really had any truly creative hobbies growing up. I spent the entirety of my high school and university career in the sciences, which offered me at the time really clear-cut topics that I was able to be successful in. I was involved in creative clubs in high school, but once I got to university and everything shifted to more individualized learning styles and really high-paced academic requirements, I quickly found myself struggling to stay afloat and battled really severe depression for many years. In some ways, I am thankful that I ended up getting a degree in the field of biological sciences because it gave me a very thorough understanding of the world around me and of my own physiology, and honestly helped me seek out my diagnosis of ADHD and move towards healing and coping. But I have come to realize now that I need to have some sort of creative expression to feel like a fully realized human being. Knitting has allowed me to express ideas in the deepest part of my brain and has made me feel at my base like a capable and interesting human being. I can create clothing and wearables that express my unique style and fit to my unique body. Every time I look at or wear a sweater that I made, I can basically double dip into that dopamine hit of finishing a project that I mentioned earlier, later, because every time I look at or put on that sweater, I'm reminded of how it came to fruition. As I finish projects, I often find myself getting inspired to start the next ones based on what I learned from the previous one, and I'm constantly thinking of more ways that I can express myself through knit and crochet. This in turn allows me to feel a greater sense of purpose and makes it a little bit easier for me to get through the day. I think at some point we've all questioned like our life's purpose. And I feel like as someone with ADHD, the idea of purpose and the existentialism that surrounds that topic has been maybe a little bit more present in my life than some of my peers. For a long time, I just kind of felt nothing and wasn't really motivated to do anything. I didn't understand what I wanted to do with my life or what I should even do to just get through a day. I have since come to accept that there will never really be an answer to this question. And at this point, I'm accepting that my purpose in life is just to find ways to enjoy it. Knitting and crochet is something that I just genuinely enjoy doing. I like the sensation of yarn moving across the needles. I like being able to pick different colors and different textures to make projects. I like the way that yarns look and feel. This hobby allows me to wake up in the morning and know that there will be at least one thing that I can do throughout the day that I will actually genuinely enjoy, which makes the overall burden of existing a little bit easier to bear. I'm sure this point can really be extrapolated to any hobby or activity that you really enjoy doing, but knitting has shown me the value of holding something that you like really close to your heart by affording me a really easy and accessible way to just get through my day. Learning to knit this year changed my life and improved my mental health in ways that I never would have expected. I hope for you that you will be able to work on a hobby or even find a skill that you enjoy as much as I love knitting, because the world is a crazy place right now and we all deserve to feel good. My name is Maxine, and on this channel I talk about knitting and crochet, having ADHD, being queer, sometimes a combination of those things. So if you are a queer person or just a fierce ally who likes to consume queer content, I hope that you will subscribe to my channel and stick around, because I would be happy to have you. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments what your favorite hobby is to get you through the day, or what kind of hobbies you might be looking to try in 2026. Anyway, bye!